Okay, so sorry it happened again, but let's just give some time for other people to join. Yeah. Okay, I think most of us are here now, so maybe we should just go ahead and continue. So, like I said, instead of typing everything all over again, you can copy and paste, or there are what's it called now? IntelliSense. That when you start, let's say for example, you type P paragraph, and you close it, it automatically gives you the closing bracket, the closing tag. So you can do whatever you want. But for me, I think it's faster copying and paste, since I have some original HTML I have written from scratch before. So, okay, so we are testing semantic web. Or let's say HTML. For example, the title of my page. So now I have my head and I have the body, and then I have my closing HTML. So like I said, this is the structure. And we also said that inside HTML tag, you can have lang, which is the language, and put maybe en.us or something like this. But that is not the main focus right now. So what do we want to test? What we want to test is to see how all these things are used together. Okay, so I'm going to copy some things and I'm going to explain it so that we can understand how it can work. So like I said, when we are talking about HTML or semantic or semantic web, everything has to do within the body of your HTML structure. So now this is the header, the one I first explained. And so for every opening, there must be what? A closing tag. So you put your header, you start with your header like this. And then inside the header, there are some information you can have inside. I said the navigation is usually used in the header. So here we have the navigation bar. And what does the navigation does? All it does is for you to have what? Your links to the, or we call it menu, or links to other pages in your website. So, and for us to have those hyperlinks, we decided to put a URL, which is an unordered list. Okay, URL will give you a dot. We tested this in the previous project, the previous example that we talked about. Okay. Oh, Emmanuel, thank you. I'm just seeing your message now when you told me how to do to change the font size. Thank you very much. Okay, so like I said, we did this in the first web page somewhere here. We talked about another list. It is here. So this should not be new to you. Okay. So, and then inside this, you have list items. Your headline is a list item. So inside the list item, we put an anchor tag. Remember what I told you what an anchor tag does is the main reference, is the main linking tag to link you from one page to another, or from one segment of your page to another segment of your page. So, but right now we are not linking anywhere. We just want to have this menu listed here. So in the header tag, we have our nav, and inside it, we put the other HTML tag. And if you notice, for every opening tag, we always close the tag. Please don't forget that. Okay, so normally we know how to use our H1, H2, H3. You can put this anywhere within your code. So this end is header tag. Now we can move to the main. You can see as you are typing, it's showing it out to you automatically so that you don't need to do much. Okay, so within the main, we can decide to have article. We can decide to have, even within article, you can now have an header for your article, depending on what you want to do. For example, I would say let's copy something so it's faster, and then we'll explain. Okay, let's see this. Okay, so in case you don't need to be doing this or copying this, as just watch and as I explained, and I'm going to push this to the GitHub page so that you can download it automatically instead of typing and try to understand what we are doing. So I think that way it's faster. Okay, so we have the article, just like the way we presented in the former presentation, the PowerPoint presentation. Can you see my PowerPoint page? I'm trying to show you. No? Anybody, can you see my PowerPoint page?
No.
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 Okay. Just a minute. What of now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
sure.
So yeah, I'm trying to explain this part. Okay, so now everything we are doing is still like this. Like I said, it's not as if when we are done, it's going to come out in this shape because we are not going to apply CSS. I'm just telling you that the structure is in this format, and that's what we are trying to do. Now we are on in article. We are trying to create and show what an article looks like. So let's continue. So we have an article, opening and closing, and inside it, I said you can also put another header. Okay, so it's like when the crawler or the Google search or whatever is crawling your page, whenever it sees the header, you have to understand automatically that it's looking for like the sub-segment or the major segments of this part of your document. So it will know what to present to the user when you do a search in Google. Okay, so like we said you can either use a section inside an article or outside an article. When you are using it inside an article, if you are using a section inside an article, that means the information must relate to that article. But when you are using it outside, then I don't think there should be any correlation. So you can have this tag as many as possible within an article. So here we have a section, closing, and inside we have an header tag, and then we have a paragraph. So these are just simple tags that we can look at. Okay, so you can move on to the next one, which is, please, if you have a question, you can just call me and I will explain, which is the aside. Okay, so we can see how all this comes together as one. For the aside section, inside an aside, you can also have a section. Okay, so you can see that now we are using a section not inside an article, but we are using it inside an aside. Okay, so just like I explained, so this aside, this section now, the information has no relationship with whatever article you are writing, but we are just trying to bring out a segment, or probably we want to just have a glossary of the information that you have presented on the other pages or anywhere in your document. So that is what you use this for. So the more you have a concept in your mind of what to do, the more you understand how to lay out your page. Okay, I'm not going to say more than that. Let me show you a particular, let me share my screen and show you what we agreed to do as assignment. This is a concept when I asked the question that who has, what's it called? Something we should use as example or as assignment. Nobody gave me anything. So I just came up with this. So this could be your own concept of, okay, this is how I want my page to look like. I want to have a logo. I want to have like a big information header here. I want to have a form where I can register. I want to have some aside or sectioned information on the right and on the left. Okay. So whatever concept that you come up with, you can build it with all this HTML information that I've just explained. Okay, so now that we are doing this, we need to see how the whole thing come together. Okay, so okay, got distracted by something now. Okay, so let's see how everything comes together. There's one more thing that we have not added, if you remember. Who can remind me what I'm missing out here? I've mentioned about 5 or 6 things. The footer, thank you very much, sir. So it is the footer that is now missing. Remember, I talked about the header. I have it here. I can close or minimize each of these headers by clicking on this drop down arrow so that we can see the structure properly. So we have the main, the opening and the closing. We have the header, but we are missing out something which he said is the footer. So the footer too can come in here. Okay, so you can, I think in the view, there should also be a way, who knows, a way to edit or to automatically format documents, especially in edit. Let's see, Microsoft should not forget that to do that. Yeah, I don't have time for that. Okay, so in some editors, when you, let's say I type this like this, you can just do some shortcut keyboard command and everything would arrange itself automatically and how it should be. Okay, but I don't know how it's used there. But you can find out that yourself. Okay, so in the footer, like I showed us in the previous website that we went to, we saw the kind of information you can put in the footer. You can put the copyright information, you can put link to the parent website, you can put any information that you want in the footer, but make sure that it's their static information, that is information that will not change over a period of time, but that will just be there. They are just sub-references, and that's what you put in the footer. So with this now, we are done with our page. Remember, let's do a quick recap. We have the HTML page, right? We have the header. We have the head, sorry. This head it contains information that's going to show on your tab, on your browser's head tab, right? And then it has title and some other information that I said you should find out, meta tags and the rest of them. So, but yeah, for you to find out how to do. Then we have the body, which is our main part. And I said in this body, you can apply your semantic elements, which are 1, header, 2, main, 3, footer. And inside your main, you can have what? You can either have your articles, you can have your sections, and you can have your aside. So there are other things that you can also find out about HTML5, but these are the basic structure. And so one thing we are trying to do in this training is to make you have interest in how to do this and to find out more on how to create, having introduced you to the basic information that you need to build a basic structure of an HTML page. So let's see how this shows up in our website. Revealing folder. Sorry, in case you are using Mac, most of the things I do here might not be straightforward. Like when you right click on this, you may not see this revealed in folder. So I just do that because I know it's going to show up immediately I do that. So I can now display my HTML5 page. Let's see how it goes. Share the screen for you to see. Okay, so can we see how it turns out? So somebody would say, okay, so what's the meaning of this now? Because at the end of the day, I showed us this, and then I'm showing something totally different. Okay, so it's always like that. I understand. So, but if you follow, I don't think I taught us a way to check uh, when you go to a website, you can check the information or the HTML that is being rendered on the page. It's quite simple. All you need to do is to right click on the page and click on view page source. So viewing the page source will show you this HTML tags on that page. So without you having go back to your editor, blah, 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 you can easily see it here. So you can see the structure of what we have built. We have our body, we have our header, and in it we have this another list. As you can see, these two navigation lists. So remember, it is another list that put all these dots, which you can also format how you want it to look in CSS. And then you have the main header, which we call the main heading. That's why it's very big, because it's H1. That's the ruler we used. And we went into the main information, which is the main part of the document. We talk about the header where we have this article heading 1 and 2. You can see it here. Okay. And then we have this section in the article. We also have an aside where we also put sections. And then we now have our footer, which is what you can see here. So there's been no difference between this HTML page and this. Where is the other HTML page? This is our first web page. Okay, so this is the first one we built the other day. If you remember, we talked about this H1 header tag. We did from H1 to H6. We demonstrated how an image can be displayed in the HTML page. We also talked about this list and the rest of them. We talked about forms, but we did not do form into details, which we are going to do now after this. And then we talked about how to insert another website entirely into your existing page. And we did that for this website. Yeah, by using an iframe, yes. Okay. And now we have done this again, just to show us how semantic. So what I'm saying is someone can tell me that, okay, when we use semantic and when we don't use semantic, well, what's the difference? Because the whole thing is still looking like the same. Yes, but like I said, the difference is when the Google stuff is crawling your page. If you structured well with semantics, it gives you more better. It gives it more good chances of understanding what your page is all about and being able to present information to users. Example, like when I say, what is Python? Search. So Google is going to crawl several sites based on the information they have. You can see it's putting some in bold, it's putting some as normal text, okay? And how is he able to highlight this Python every time based on the keyword I put, right? And then it's able to do some powerful presentation to you, giving you all this information from the page. So if most of these pages are not properly integrated with semantic HTML, it might find it difficult to display your page. Maybe your page is going to appear at number 100 or something, because it will prefer to show the best pages to the users first before talking about your own page. I'm sure most of this page are okay. This looks good. Yeah, this looks like a good layout. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. Now, see, like this website, this whole place is your footer, right? But sometimes footer starts from here. Some people assign some things to the footer to just indicate that, okay, this is the closing or the ending part of your page. So we'll get to that when we are working with maybe Bootstrap or some powerful styling sheets for your site. Okay, so any question at this point before we move to the next one? Do you have any question? If no, then we'll move on to the next. Okay. So we talked about HTML forms last on Monday, and then we introduced us to basic things in HTML forms. One second. Okay, so we talked about the form element, which is one of the things we displayed on the page earlier, telling you that for you to have a form, you must start with the form tag, and then you have your form element in between, and you end with the /form tag. So we also introduced us to the input element, which is very important. The input element is very versatile in the sense that you use an input and you can use the type attributes to differentiate the type of inputs that you are using. For example, if you want a text, use the type is equal to text. If you want a radio button, use the type equals to radio button. If you want the submit button, which is what everybody clicks to submit a form, you use that. And there's another thing I don't think I mentioned, the form action. Okay, so basically there are different form actions. I would like to explain it now. Let's go back to our page. There are different form actions. Where's the first web page? Yes. Where's our form? We had a form here. So now if you do action, which is an attribute. Okay. And then what's that other one called? Okay, so now forms, when submitted, it's meant to do something. Okay. Forms when submitted is meant to do something. So either you say you want it to send this information to the database or somewhere in the database, or you want it to just pick the information and show it back to the user. So depending on whatever you want to do, you can display this or you can use an action to do that. Okay, so I would explain further by showing us something more. Okay, so I can say, let's for example, I can say HTTPS, www.developerscollege/get form. Has anybody heard about APIs before? Have you heard about APIs? Anybody?
No.
Okay. I believe some of us might, some of us may not. Sorry, I'm digressing. I need to show you this so that you can understand what an action is. Can you see this? Can you see my screen where I'm displaying Postman? Okay. So API simply is most of the time we call microservices because they are APIs, application programming interface. I won't go into details, but I just want to explain something quickly. When you type a particular API URL, or they call it endpoint. When you are calling a particular endpoint in API, you are telling it that go and fetch me this information wherever you are, and it will return the information to you. Okay, so now you type the endpoint or the URL here, and you click on send. So it sends the information to the server. If you remember when I talk about client server information, so it sends the information to the server, and the server responds with something. So look at this page now. I can click a send, and then it returns information to me, an error saying that I need to provide what? An API or the API key. And the API key, I don't have it anymore. I can't remember what it is. So, but assuming I put the right API key here as parameter, it's going to fetch me this information back. So likewise, from our form action, I can decide to put an endpoint here. So that endpoint will be exactly like this. Okay, for example, I'm just using this as an example. So whenever I click on submit on my form, it calls whatever this endpoint is doing and returns this kind of information back to me. Okay, so those are the things that we put inside form action. Form action means that what should happen when you click a submit on this form. Okay, so now two methods of calling or using a form. There's a method called the post, and there's another one called get. These are the basic ones I wanted to know for now. There are other ones. We have the put, the bash, and the rest of them. But a get is getting information from somewhere and displaying it to you. Okay. A post means that you are posting and trying to create a new resource. You are posting and sending an information across. Okay. So, but let's not go deep into this because at a point it will get confusing. Okay, but I just want you to know that for a form, there are attributes where we have the action and then we have the method. So if you also look at my Postman, this is a Postman application made by Google that we use to test APIs. So everything you are seeing here are APIs. What I mean by APIs is application programming interface. You can't see them like visible website or visible whatever, but it gives you information in JSON. Okay, so I can decide to have different actions. These are the methods. This is a get, this is a post, push. So there are many. Most of the time we stick to just these two. Okay, so now this method is the same thing as the method I'm talking about here. So for Google now, for this endpoint, they might tell you for you to call this endpoint, use a post method. So I post. Okay, if I decide to use a get method, maybe to give me another error, you can see. So those are the different ways that you can use to send information to a server. That is just that. Let's go back to where we stopped. Okay, so I said I talked about that. So for you now to be able to see a list of all the, let's click on this link, of all the other options for a text box. Remember, I sent out a link to you on W3 School for you to read more about HTML. So you can see we cannot talk about everything. So we have a lot of them. Input type. I will never talk about most of these things. So you can go to this site, W3 Schools, and look at how they are used. We have a lot of them. There are many there. You have the telephone, you have the text, you have the range, you have the reset, you have the search. So many. So your input type, there are very many which you can take a look at on that side. Okay, so also we have what we call a placeholder attribute. So what is a placeholder attribute in a text? Remember we did this input text, so I won't go into details. I just want to talk about this placeholder. For example, when you come here, let's save this form, for example, and in input text, we have the attribute called type, which makes it a text box. We have the attribute called first name. So you can have what we call a placeholder. What will a placeholder do? A placeholder is just that, let's say before we put the placeholder, let's look at what the page looks like. Here, you can see first name, right? So, but sometimes inside this text box, you just see enter your name in this text box. Although we have a label telling us that in this text box, you should put your first name. But we can use a placeholder to give more information on what type of input we are expecting. You can just say enter your first name. Okay, so if I should refresh my page now, you can see automatically. But when you click inside and start typing, it disappears. So that's what we call a placeholder. When you start typing, it disappears. When you stop typing, it appears back. Okay. So, but here I didn't apply a placeholder, so nothing is inside. So a placeholder allows you to give or enter more information into your text box. What else? We talked about radio. You can check this out yourself. Okay, so for the select, I'm going to talk a little bit about this because I'm not sure we did this in the last information we did. So select is talking about having a drop down, having a list of options, So for a select tag, you need to use it with an option tag. Okay. And so this is just a normal, okay, we have 10 minutes more again. In case the meeting goes off, just try and click on the link back. So I'm going to copy this code quickly. Don't have time. Let me just copy and paste it. That's it. Okay, let's copy and paste it in our page. Let me use it. I'm using it within the course of the form, so let's use it here. Okay, so let's see how this goes. Okay, so you have a drop down. I want to, this iframe is too near this submit button, so I want to give it a space. So all I have to do is, who knows the tag I should use to separate and give a large space in between.
BR, no.
What does BR means?
A break.
Break line, yes. Thank you. That's exactly what I need. So you can see when you are using break line, means you want to have a line break in between, right? And it's different from this funny one that we used the other thing, NPSP.
It's called, okay, it's called so, ampersand.
Ampersand, right? Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. So this ampersand is very funny, right? So that gives you, it's just like when you are typing in Word, Microsoft Word, and you use your space bar. So these are space bar or space. But when you need to go to a new line, when you press enter after typing and press enter, right? You need to have a new line. So a break line, you use a BR. So please note the difference. I'm going to use it. And some websites, when you use this ampersand, whatever, it doesn't work well. So be careful how you use it. Okay. So now I want to have a break line. Let's see. It's not still, so I can add more than one. Just go down.
You put a front slash.
You said?
Do we need the front slash?
Yeah, yeah. You need it and you may not need it.
The slash, I guess, is this issue.
Okay.
I know this is what you said. This is what you want, right? So it works, and it also works if you put the break slash.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
It works either way. Just for break line, please, because there are other ones. Let's try IMG, for example. You know you're supposed to close IMG with your what? Slash, right? But in case you don't use it, so what do you think will happen? Do you think it will not display your image? It's a question to someone. Can anybody answer? Where's our picture again? We did the picture somewhere. Yes, let's put this picture back. So if I'm using this and I'm not closing it properly.
I haven't tried that, so I actually don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's why we have a class. So we'll try together and see the results. So it will show, but can you see it shows, right? It's showing the image, but the point is your page is not well properly, what's it called? Your HTML is not neat. Do you understand? So when you are displaying, that's why you see some people, when some sites, when you open them in Firefox, it shows well. You open it to the Chrome, it shows well. But when you go to Safari and maybe Edge or something, then it's more scattered and it's not well properly arranged. These are the cause. So once you know the syntax and the best way to write your HTML, please adhere to it. You understand? I know it might be confusing for most people when you are writing different languages. Like for yesterday when our instructor was teaching us, he writes Java, he writes Python, he writes other programming languages. So when you are typing, you might be putting another programming language syntax in your code. Okay, it might work, but there are best ways to go about it. So that's what I would say with this. Most of the time, you don't need it for break line. You just do it like this. But if you put it, it won't hurt anything. But for this, like we tested now, if you don't put it so, it won't hurt. But for best standard practices, you should have it. Okay, so that's how I will explain that. Thank you very much for the contribution. Let's move on. What I was trying to explain is this, and how to apply. This is just our normal select statement or a drop down button. Okay, so now we have this, but we can apply semantic into this. And applying semantic to this is a very simple way of doing it. So I have an example which I'm going to copy and paste so that we can see how that is done. Okay. Where's the select? Yes. So I'm going to copy something and I'm going to show it to you so we can all see. Okay, so see this select, you don't actually need a name. So you can give it a name if you want to refer to it when you're programming. Look at this. The only difference between this and this is this option group, right? Because we have this option here. So within a select tag, you can add an option group. Option group can help you to subdivide the options in the select tag so that you can have them segmented. So what we did is to add this tag called OPT group and probably also give it a label or a name or an identifier to show what it is. So remember, this is an attribute of this tag. Label is an attribute of this tag. So whenever you are using a tag, all the things inside them, name is an attribute, right? You can have an ID and the rest of them. So an attribute, according to what we learned, has a name and it has a value. So this is the name of the attribute value. This is the name of the attribute, this is the value. So we can quickly check. Let me put a break line in between and see how this goes. Okay, so now we have this old one and then we have this new one. So in the new one, this you can see we cannot select the front end, we cannot select the back end, we cannot select the design, or we can select the content inside because it's the option that we are meant to select. But just also have a group for each of the options. We decided to put that option group tag into it. So the option group tag is a semantic element of HTML5, which you don't have in older HTML. Do we understand that? Okay, so let's move on. That's what I just wanted to mention there. The submit button. So the submit button is what triggers your form's action. So like I explained the other time, if, for example, someone that programs in PHP has written some things in PHP, and then when you click on submit, it triggers whatever you have in this action to take place. That is as simple as that. So when you get basically into programming, deep programming, that's when you understand what most of these things does. And I don't have any hosted sample sites where I can show you how to trigger for now. So let's just know that when you submit, when you click on submit, it triggers whatever thing you have in the action. So in our form now, I don't have anything in the action. This does not exist, so it's as good as not it. So I can put just hash there, so it goes nowhere. So when you click on it, it goes nowhere. Just nothing is happening. But normally you're supposed to send the information either to a database or somewhere else. Okay, I think I have my Visual Studio is not open. Okay, let's see this one.
I have less than a minute, sir.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so please, in case this goes off again, just try and reconnect back. And remember, this is like our short breaks. So maybe you can grab a coffee and reconnect back in 1 or 2 minutes. So I think, okay, let's just have a 5 minutes break. So if it goes off now, we should come back in 5 minutes time, but I will be here waiting for you guys. So, but I will start the lecture back by 11:26. Okay. So I'll start the lecture back by 11:26 when it goes off. But meanwhile, let's continue. Okay, like this is a form. This guy is going to throw an error because I'm running it locally on my system and the main application is not opened. So let me open the main application to show you how email banking.